Kyle Larson for Hendrick Motorsports and Chevrolet wins in Homestead.
The deep end.
Dude, Homestead-Miami Speedway,
Yes.
NASCAR, the Sunday race, which is like, what's the series called
Cup
now?
Series.
It's Cup Series.
Still Cup Series, yeah.
Okay. It was amazing.
It was my first race. And you're, how many?
Second NASCAR race I've
Right.
ever been to in person,
Yeah.
and second at Homestead.
So for me, it was first for everything. And it's the first time I've ever seen a NASCAR thing in person. And yeah, you can't hear anyone when you got the headphones on. It's just things are going.
That was like the one thing I made sure.
Yeah.
Because the first time I ever went, I didn't know to bring any ear protection.
You just sat there with nothing.
Sat there with nothing.
How?
I don't know. And the cars were way louder back then, too.
Yeah, because they had a lot more horsepower.
Yeah.
Now they're at 600 something. I don't even know.
Going into it, I was expecting a different experience because of the experience I first had.
Right.
So this whole new experience was actually refreshing.
Yeah.
The fact that it wasn't as loud was more enjoyable.
I mean, even with the headphones, it was... Here's the thing. It wasn't loud, but it was consistent enough to where I was like, oh, my ears are starting to get a little bit sore.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I would look around the stand sometimes, and I'm like, that person doesn't have anything in their ears.
Mm-hmm.
That person doesn't. How are they doing it? How are they just sitting there the whole time? And I think after a bit, you get used to it.
They're either used to it or they just lost their hearing.
Right, but that can't be fun.
No.
Okay, but let's talk about like the difference between seeing that race in person and then like watching it on TV, because I think those are two different like experiences.
Absolutely, because while you're watching it on TV, you're watching it from their perspective that they want you to see, and they're showing you where the action's at that moment, which is great.
Yeah.
And we saw the screen that they had with the broadcast, but being able to look at the track and at the cars and watch the overtakes happening, watch them really like getting in and out of the corners.
Yeah.
You could really see the momentum of the cars. It was such an interesting experience because I was just watching like out of turn 2.
Yeah.
That you would see which car was the fastest and which one was the slowest.
Yeah.
You could clearly see it, and that's something that you don't see on TV.
Yeah, I also thought one difference that struck me a lot was usually when you're watching on TV, a caution comes out and you're like, let me go use the bathroom. Like, I'm not going to watch this. I'm going to go like check on my phone or something. Right? It's boring. I don't want to see it because there's no more racing. They're just slowing down, and now they're going to pit road. In person, it's like, oh my gosh, finally I can take these things off. And then once I can take it off, there's these speakers throughout the track pointed at the grandstands that are blasting the radio broadcast. So now it's like, oh, okay. After maybe 20 minutes of green flag racing, where I'm just sitting there and I'm just thinking my own thoughts, watching the cars go around, take off my headphones because there's a caution now. I hear other people talking about it, telling me things that I didn't necessarily notice while I was watching. And then I get to see the cars pull up to pit road. They're all there, so I can look at which one I want to, and I see the people coming out and do their stuff, and it's right in front of the stands. And I'm like, this is cool. And so every time a caution came out, I was like, oh, let's go.
How intense were the pit roads? I mean,
Yeah.
not just them taking off the tires and putting them on, but also the cars getting in and out.
Yeah.
There was an accident in front of us.
It was, I think,
Joey Logano, was it?
Joey Logano and Josh Berry got into each other, and they both spun around, and they were facing the wrong way. And they go back to their pit stalls. I've never seen anything like that.
It was so fun to see, and I was expecting more crashes on the race. I think
Right.
we saw one, not even a crash. We saw an engine explode.
Right, Ryan Blaney's engine exploded.
And he was
that
in
was
the
it.
lead the
He
whole day.
That was insane. He was
Yeah.
leading, I mean, dang near every lap.
first and second stage, pretty
right?
much.
And then he blows it, and now he's out the race. Dominated. He had the best car, everything, and now it's gone.
Unreal.
And then you're like, okay, so now there's just a void. Who's going to fill it? And then for a bit, it was Bubba. It was Alex Bowman had it, and then he lost it to Kyle at the end. Man, it was quite the race to watch in person, I think.
I loved people watching there. You mentioned it earlier.
Oh my gosh, we gotta talk about the people that are.
But there
fun.
was this one guy I was watching.
Yeah.
With this cowboy hat
I'm
on.
so glad you. This guy was awesome.
With I think it was a Ryan Blaney fan.
No, I think he was.
Or
I think
Kyle.
Kyle Larson.
Yeah, Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Fan. Every time that Kyle would drive by him, he'd have like a different gesture.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And he would do. It's like some sort of ritual or.
Yeah.
You know?
So it was like one of them. Sometimes he would take off the hat. But he would every time he did this, he would stand up. Like he would get up, take off the hat, or he'd like go like this, or something. And there's 267 laps in this race. That guy's standing up
every single time.
lap that Kyle Larson goes by the start finish line. I'm like, dude, that's dedication. But I'm like, I love that. I love that our sport has fans like that. Mm-hmm. That just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna stand up 260 times in the race, and every time they go by. And I saw also, I'm guessing there were his kids that were next to him, and at some parts of the race, I would see them like go up to their dad, like try to talk into his ear, and I'm guessing they're asking him questions. He like did the gesture, and then asked him about it, and I was like, oh, they don't know. And then the father taught them, and then later in the race, a couple times, I saw the kids like stand up with him, and I was like, that is so awesome.
That really is.
That is so cool.
That's amazing.
And I'm guessing like probably his dad had a similar thing, right? They just get some kind of driver ritual, fan ritual, something like that, bro. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, a little superstition.
Yeah, and also
and it worked out.
It did
because he ended up winning the race.
Dude,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. And there was also another family who they had all matching identical Kyle Larson shirts. It was cool.
That's cool.
And they stood up, and I was like, oh, they're wearing the same thing.
That's the kind of thing you see at Disney World.
Right?
Not NASCAR.
Yeah. I mean, they're really dedicated over there, right?
Yeah, and speaking of the fans, what a diverse crowd.
I was just about to say that.
I mean, we're in Miami, but I expected going in that I was going to be a certain type of people there.
Yep.
More Southern racing type fans.
Yep.
No, I literally saw Latino Miamis coming out dressed up.
Yes.
Like, enjoying NASCAR.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of a testament to like the market that NASCAR is growing, because obviously like you go back 30, 40 years, it's a very southern regional thing. But now they're growing, and they have a bunch of races on the West Coast too. They have they're about to have one in Mexico. They're about to have one in
No way.
Yeah, first international race by the Cup Series. That's points paying. And so that's this year, and they're really like they're expanding. And I think that's like, you go to the track in Miami and you're like, wow, this is not a typical NASCAR audience when I'm like envisioning what they look like. And it's like, well, people in Miami like racing, they go to NASCAR. It's the people that you typically make up the Miami area. And there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Racing has been blowing up in South Florida thanks to, I think, Formula One.
Yeah.
And having the Hard Rock area, having that Formula One track, it really
around the
brought
stadium.
in. Yeah.
Yep.
In and through.
No way.
Yes.
It goes through?
It goes through.
Like into like where they usually play
through
football.
like the tunnel, and then
Wow.
through the field. They like literally build the track through the stadium as well.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I just thought it was around the thing.
No, it's gnarly.
Whoa.
It's gnarly. And then, you look at that and it's bringing all these like Latin American, it's because this is a huge Latin American community.
Yeah.
And European too. I mean, and then you have that melting pot here in South Florida, and that racing culture lives. I mean, with the kind of money that's down here, people can afford nice cars, and so they're in that culture.
Yeah. I think a lot of the racing culture comes from the car culture, which they're not the same, but there's a big overlap. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many cars that are just screaming down the road, regardless of like you're at a racetrack or not. You're on the highway, and people are already basically racing you.
Yeah, excuse me, guys.
Right? I mean, he's one of them. But there's like people that are really into cars, really into like getting wraps, getting mods, getting all that kind of stuff, changing out the engine. I mean, you mentioned you had a friend who had something?
Yeah, my friend just spent $20,000 on a 500 horsepower weekend car.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of money that's down here.
That is a huge investment into a car.
Yeah, and he
awesome.
just spent like probably another $5,000 putting parts into it.
Yeah. You have people like that more than you would imagine in this area. And then that probably contributes to like, hey, there's a race, let's go, right? And it's a lot less than $20K. I mean, well, we spent an absurdly a low number of tickets.
Oh, for the tickets?
Right.
Yeah, thank you to VetTix.com, a veteran organization that helps with tickets.
Yeah, right.
$7 a ticket
That's
I paid.
insane, bro.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So how did you get into racing?
So I always grew up around cars. So my father was a rally car driver, so it's in my blood. It's in my genetics. When I'm driving, I feel super comfortable. I mean, it's the one thing that I'm really good at. When I go to go-karts, I'm always dominating.
Shredding it up there.
Yeah. I mean, it's so natural. I'm really good at racing games.
I love that.
It's just in me. It's super natural. And then my uncles, they had they had a shop, and they were both mechanics. So I was always in there working on cars. They were literally getting free child labor out of me,
right?
And I would do oil changes
But
for
you're
them.
getting free knowledge out of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't put a price on knowledge.
Gosh.
And, then as a teenager, I always wanted to be like in that car scene. So like I always looked for like that Honda Civic or that all-wheel drive turbo car.
Yeah.
And I eventually did get into it, and I would be at the car meets. You show up and you show off your car, and then next thing you know, you're on the roads over by the Everglades, ripping them up, racing other people illegally.
Wow. Hey.
As my younger ages, I grew up in that culture, especially down here. It was huge, and it still is. How about you? How did you get into racing?
Man, I definitely didn't get into it young. I think, so my dad, he would have loved to have been around you, because he always wanted me to like get into cars and like see how the engine works, or like let's replace a spark plug so you can know how this thing does, or the oil change, or here's how you change a tire and all that kind of stuff. He was like, you should probably know all these things about the car, and
smart.
And he would have, if I even cared about that stuff back then, I think he would have really appreciated it. But I think the first time I really kind of like got into racing, let's say, it was spring semester of my freshman year of college. So quite literally 1 year ago. So this is kind of new.
Wow.
This is very new. I think I was just searching for like a movie to watch, and then I picked out Cars 3 by Pixar. So I watched it. I'm like, this like reminds me of like every competitive endeavor I've used to have. And I'm like, I kind of relate to Lightning McQueen a little bit. And so I watched Cars 1 because I wanted more of that story. And I was like, oh man, this is a great movie.
Yes.
And then I was like, I'm not gonna watch Cars 2 because it doesn't do anything for my heart or my head. So I was like, where do I go after this? There's no Cars 4, and if it is coming out way in the future, I gotta go to NASCAR. Let me see the real thing. And so the first ever race I watched was actually a live stream replay of the Richmond race. I believe Denny Hamlin won it.
Your hometown track?
Yep. And I watched it. It was I didn't really watch the whole thing. It was like 3 hours, but I had it running in the background at some point. And then I was like, this isn't really the same. So I don't really know if that really like scratches the itch. But I'll stick with it, right? I only knew, after watching that race, I only knew like 4 names. I knew Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Kyle Larson. That was it. And maybe Martin Truex, right? And then the more races I watched, I was like, okay, now I'm putting all the names together. Now I'm getting more storylines, and it's all coming together. And I'm like, it's different from Cars because that's a movie, right? But this is like, it's still competition, and the more I'm understanding it, this is kind of cool. And now I'm learning that, okay, not all the tracks are the same, actually, even though they're kind of shaped similarly. Mm-hmm. Or the cars are slightly different, or this is how the rules have changed over time. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. And then I'm like, no, I kind of want to do it, right? But I don't have the money to throw at a car or anything. I don't even have a car to begin with. So I'm going to go-karts and stuff. I like once or twice with my friend. And there at the K1, they let us go to the max speed. So usually if you're just showing up, they'll let you on the second to high speed. But there was like barely anyone. So there was like, oh, it's an open track. You guys got it. High speed.
Yes.
And so I got my first sub 20 time at the track there. That was amazing. That was a great time. But I was like, this is a lot of money. So later I asked for Christmas like a steering wheel and a pedal for the computer.
Oh, yes.
So recently, maybe not that recently, but over the past couple months, I've set that up and plugged it into my laptop. And so now I'm on the sim. I'm learning like all the tracks that NASCAR goes to.
Incredible.
Including Homestead-Miami. So
Yes.
the night before we went to the race, I was driving at the track, basically, right? And I was like, this is hard. And it's cool because you get to put yourself in the seat of the drivers. And I'm like, this is way more complicated than I think. It's not just cars going in circles, even though that's what it looks like.
To the layman person,
Right.
it just looks like, oh, yeah, they're just going left-hand turns. But there's so much. I mean, how big was that bank? The bank on turn on 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, I remember
it was
when
like 3 stories.
we got back down to the ground level while we're exiting, and I'm looking in the distance, and it's like a mountain. It's like, wow. When you're in the stands.
Cars are going up that.
Yeah. And there's tracks that have even crazier banking than what they have at Homestead.
That's wild.
Yeah, but they're also going a lot faster on those tracks too, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like this is kind of the avenue right now where it's like I don't have the money to put into a physical car quite yet. So let me do it on the computer so that I can still kind of hone my skills for what? I don't know, maybe just for fun. But one of these days when I'm 30, 40, I don't know, maybe I might do something. I don't know. That's the idea.
Yeah, you need to get yourself a weekend car.
Right, exactly. Maybe less than 20K.
Oh, yeah. I
Right?
mean, yeah, definitely. My boy's just bougie.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Did we cover everything?
I think we did.
Well, that was racing. That was watching the NASCAR race. That was growing up. Awesome, guys. See you in the next one.
Take care.